Okay, so here's what your exponent rules circuit looks like. There's all these questions that are in the boxes, and you'll see that at the top of each box it says answer. So I'm going to go through a couple of examples with you and kind of show you how you're going to work through the circuit. So you're going to start with box 1, and you're going to answer this question. So I'm going to choose to simplify inside the parentheses first, and then I will apply the power rule. You could apply power rule first and then do simplifying after that. It does not matter. But I'm going to start with the inside. And so if I simplify the stuff on the inside, 6 divided by 2 would be 3. And I would subtract the exponents. So 5 take away 2 would be x to the third. But that would be in the denominator because that's where there's more x's to begin with. And then after that, I'm going to apply the power rule, which means you're going to multiply the exponents. So this would make it 3 squared over x to the 6th. And then the last thing is just say that 3 squared equals 9. So 9 over x to the 6th is our solution, okay? Now, we have to go look at the top of each box and try to find this answer. So if we go all the way down to the bottom of that first page, you see your answer right here. And that means that you're going to do this question next. So this is question number 2. And now we're going to simplify this one. So all of this one is product rule. So what we would do on this one is we would do 5 times 9, which is 45. And then you're going to add the exponents. So for the x's, if I add those, I get a 1. And if I add the y's, we get a -4. And then we're going to take the y to the -4th, and we're going to write that as a fraction. So that would be 1 over y to the 4th. And then we're going to take our solution and do top times top, bottom times bottom. So this is going to give you 45x over y to the 4th. Okay? Please make sure on this circuit that you're showing all your work just like I am. All right, make sure that you're showing all your work. So this is the next question next answer we're looking for. 45x over y to the 4th. I don't see it on the first page. It looks like it's going to be all the way here at the end on the second page. So then we will call this one question number 3. Okay, so you're going to go through your circuit kind of like that. Now, I am going to also do a couple of the harder problems for you. So I'm not going to tell you what number these are in the circuit. I'm just going to do them for you so that you have a few of the more challenging problems out of the way. So let me start with this one right here. Again, I don't know what number this is in the circuit, but we're going to go straight to this one. So what I would do here is I would start by applying the negative exponent only. And so what happens is if you have a negative exponent, but you already have a fraction, basically that negative exponent is going to make the entire fraction flip upside down. So once you flip the fraction, you can take the negative out because you've already applied that part. The next thing that I would do is I would do power rule where we're going to multiply the exponents. So this is going to be written as 125 to the 2/3 power over 64 to the 2/3 power. After this, I'm going to rewrite each of these as a radical because remember fractional exponents are the same as radicals. So this would be the same as the cube root of 125 to the 2nd power. And then the bottom one's going to be the same as far as the radical is the cube root. And it's 64 to the 2nd power. Okay, you're going to keep going because you can actually solve these. So I can do this in my head, but if you're not comfortable, you can do it in a calculator, of course. I'm going to do it in my head in 2 steps. So I'm going to start with what's the cube root of 125. That is 5. And then 5 squared is 25. The bottom, I'm going to do the cube root of 64. That is 4. and 4 squared is 16. So this answer is 25 over 16. Okay, let me find another one that's a little bit tricky like that one. Actually, this one right below it looks like a good one to do. So this one here, I'm going to first start by rewriting the radical as a fractional exponent. So I'm going to write this like the cube root of 8 would be 8 to the 1/3 power. And then x, actually, let me write this in parentheses. So let's just take everything inside of the radical and let's put that in parentheses. So 8x to the -6. And let's put the 1/3 power out here to represent the cube root. And then that means my next step, I'm going to multiply the exponents, but just on the bottom, okay? So I'm just going to apply the power rule down here. So that's going to make this 8 to the 1/3 power. And then x, if I multiply -6 times 1/3, that would be -2. Okay? I think the next thing that I would like to do is I'm going to do two things at once. I'm going to simplify 8 to the 1/3 power, but I'm also going to move these negative exponent terms. Remember, they have to switch and go to the opposite side. So this y will go down and the x will come up. So I have 8x to the 3rd already on the top. Now I also have an x squared up there. The bottom now has a y to the 3rd. 8 to the 1/3 power, you can do that in your calculator, or you can think about the fact that this means the cube root of 8, and that is 2. Okay, I think we're actually to the last step, because what we want to do now to finish this up is we first want to do 8 divided by 2, that's 4. And then let's add the exponents together, so that's going to be x to the 5th, and then we still have the y to the 3rd down there on the bottom. So 4x to the 5th over y to the 3rd would be your answer for that one. Actually, there it is right there. Okay, let me find another one. Okay, so I think this one down here would be worth looking at. So what we're going to do is we're going to take every single thing that's in this radical, and we're going to put it in parentheses. And we are going to put outside of the parentheses, we're going to put what the square root would mean as a power, and it would be to the 1/2 power. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do power rule, which means multiply all these exponents inside by 1/2. So x, -2 times 1/2 is -1. 2 times 1/2 is +1. 1 times 1/2 is 1/2, so this would be 25 to the 1/2 power. And then the last one is 4 times 1/2 is 2. Okay? The next move would be, let's move the negative exponent down to the bottom. So the top, it looks like it's just going to be a y. And then we have an x to the 1st moving down to the bottom, and there's already an x squared down there. And then I'm also going to compute 25 to the 1/2 power. Remember, that just means what's the square root of 25, okay? Which that's 5. So there would be a 5 here. And then the last thing would be to add the x's together to get x to the 3rd. Okay. There was one more that I wanted to do for you. I just got to find it. Oh, right here. Here it is. This will be the last one, and then I'll let you start working through the rest of this circuit. So for this one down here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take everything that's inside the radical, and I'm going to write it as a power, which you see how there's a 2 on the outside? So everything is to the 2nd power. But this radical, this 5th root, also makes it to the 1/5 power. So I can kind of combine those two things and say that the 5th root would have a 5 on the bottom, and the 2 exponent would make it a 2 on the top. So 2/5 power is what that would be written as. After that, multiply your powers together. So you would get 32 to the 2/5 power. Multiply 10 times 2/5, and you get 4. And then y, 3 times 2/5 would be 6/5. Okay, now we're going to simplify. So I think what I'm going to do is rewrite this as a radical so I can actually like compute and solve it. And I'm going to do the same with this y. So that would actually be the 5th root of y to the 6th power. And then let's try to figure out what this is equal to here. So the 5th root of 32 is 2, and then 2 squared is 4. Now at this point, you may or may not have to simplify this radical down. What I would suggest that you do is before you simplify that, let's go look through the circuit and see if there's an answer that looks like this one. 4x to the 4th, y to the 6/5 power. So you're going to go through your circuit and see if there is an answer that looks like that one. Because if there is, you're done. Yep, there it is right there. So I don't need to do anything further. I can just say this is going to lead me to my next point in the circuit. Okay, so you've got a few answers completed for you. We left off with question 3, so this is where you're going to go to next, solve this one, continue the circuit. Please make sure that when you turn this assignment in that your work is shown. It is not going to be enough to just put the numbers and the order of the circuit in. I want to see your work as well. If you need any help, please just let me know.